Welcome to Finding Certainty with your host and U.S. Army veteran, Patrick Laing. Over the next hour, you'll learn from Patrick and his expert guests how to attract more certainty into your business and your life. Now, here is your host, Patrick Laing.
Welcome to Finding Certainty. We appreciate you being with us today. I'm very pleased to have a good friend of mine and a mentor, Mr. Bill Hoffman. He's the founder and CEO of ZenDelivery, of another company, iPop sells. And we're going to be talking about one of the hottest topics today in America, worldwide, really, but especially here in the United States, and that is the rising cost of healthcare and what we can do about it. Bill's going to be sharing some insights to a program he is helping spearhead and is involved in, that we too are involved in here at Certainty Management, that can help cut your healthcare costs literally in half. So, Bill, thanks for being here today.
Well, thank you, Patrick. And something I didn't know, even though we've known each other and been learning all about each other and developing this incredible friendship here, I didn't know, and I want to thank you for your service. I didn't know that you were formerly of the military. So I thank you. My father, my brother, both served. So I'm very passionate about the freedoms we have because of people like yourself that have served in the military. So thank you.
I appreciate that. It was my pleasure. I actually joined the Army when I was 17 years old. I had my parents sign off on it. And I went to boot camp the summer between my junior and senior year in high school. So what they used to call the split option. So yeah, it was a great experience. But so again, thanks for being here. I start out every show just giving a little intro to our special guest and sharing two reasons why I've invited them to be here on Finding Certainty. If you're new to the show, or if you've been listening for a while, you may know that our focus is on creating and helping find greater certainty in our lives in a number of different ways, whether that's in our business, our relationships, our faith, et cetera, et cetera. Bill is what I refer to as a serial entrepreneur. He's been successful in a number of endeavors, has literally made millions of dollars. And he's going to share with you some of the experiences he's had, some of the successes and failures, perhaps. But he's an example of someone who is and has done it right. Secondly, as I said in our intro, his latest project is something that millions and millions of Americans are looking for. And so not only has he been wildly successful, but he's found that success. I think I may have just cut out there. Did I cut out?
You did. You just cut out for a quarter of a second. Yeah,
I'm having some internet issues today, but I said Bill has found his success getting behind trends. Okay, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in his history, but so we're going to learn from one of the best today. We're going to learn about how to get behind waves, trends, or patterns that are producing success. So, Bill, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you live in Naples, Florida. You're married, or not married, but you're with an amazing woman. I got to meet her in Dallas a couple of weeks ago, Andrea, and you guys are a little bit of a Brady bunch, right? You have 6 children between the two of you.
We do. It's and again, it was great spending some time and getting to know you even better, and learning about each other. That is really what life is all about, is being able to build a relationship with like-minded people. And so, for myself, I've lived in Southwest Florida, Naples, for the last 5 years. I come from the Midwest, the Toledo, Ohio area. And I wonder, when I say average, I want people to understand that you too can have success regardless of your upbringing or the different things that might have been thrown at you in your path as you go forward. My father man, what a great dad, did all the things that you want dads to do, encouragement, played baseball with me, taught me tennis, all these different things that he did. But he worked at a factory, at DuPont factory, right? Spent 36 years there. Now the shame is, and I think what drove me, I always knew I wanted to be what they call an entrepreneur. And I'll tell you how that happened. The insurance guy used to come over to our house and collect money. This is long before we had ACH debiting and all the different things, how they collect money now from us for the different services we have. He used to come by the house and collect the actual premium. And we'd always follow him out as kids. And in his trunk, he'd always have some candy or popcorn he'd give to us, right? Because you keep the kids happy, makes the parents happy. Maybe they'll spend more money with them. Maybe that was his philosophy, right? And I remember asking him, I said, when he opened up his trunk, he had his golf clubs in there. My dad loved golf, but he worked so darn much, he'd get to golf maybe once a month. He'd sneak out real early on Sunday morning and then meet us at church after golf. And I said, his name was Jack, was the insurance guy. And I said, Mr. Jack, I said, what are your clubs in the trunk for? And he goes, I go golfing twice a week. I said, does your boss know? He says, no. He goes, I'm an entrepreneur. I work for myself. Now I was like 12, 13 years old. And I was so enamored, didn't know what the word entrepreneur meant. But I remember walking into the house and telling my mom and dad that I was when I grow up, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And of course, my mom, being the biggest cheerleader in my life, and still is at 85 years old, she said, of course you are, honey. My dad said, well, you got to work hard. And he taught me a work ethic, right? Every Saturday he'd wake me up and what I thought was an unfair time, like 6 a.m. when we started our chores, right? And so the bottom line is I learned an awful lot from my father, and I had a cheerleader for a mom, right? Basically. But here's what the pivotal thing that did it for me. I was my sophomore year in college going to San Jose State. I got a tennis scholarship, and I was starting my second year. And my father called me and said that he was terminally ill and that he was retiring from work. Bottom line is he had cancer throughout his whole body. One of the ills of working for a chemical company. And back then, before they knew all about wearing things and gloves and all the different things that they would know to do now, they didn't necessarily do in the 40s, 50s, 60s when he started working there, right, from that standpoint. And I gave up my scholarship, came home. He didn't want me to do it, but I wanted to spend time. I spent the next 18 months with him as he just literally perished. But we had two other children. I come from a family of 5 children, and I was the middle, and the 2 were still at home. And my mom hadn't worked outside the home, and she had to go get a job working in a hospital, and took a second shift job so she could make an extra $1 an hour. Now think about that. In 40 hours, that's only an extra $40, but it meant a big difference because my dad, when he passed, didn't leave us financially sound. He did a good job. I mean, we had we were never poor, but he didn't leave us so that mom wouldn't have to go to work then. Right. And I always said, if I ever get married and I have kids, that'll never happen on my watch. And that's what drove me to what I would call residual income. Going out there and doing something that would pay over and over and over and over again, whether I was in the equation or not. And so that's what, when people refer to me as a serial entrepreneur, yes, I am. But what I've done is try to find trends and identify them. Well, if we go backwards, I'm 60 years old, long distance deregulated back in the mid 80s to the late 80s. 1988, I joined a company called Excel Telecom. They're just now, they were in like 11 states and they were opening up Ohio, and I got involved in the business. became wildly successful. First it was difficult because you got two bills. People didn't like the idea because remember, they had to write a check, put a stamp on it, all those things. But then it went to one single bill that Ma Bell would do the billing, but you could choose a different provider. Well, today, some of your people that are listening to this, they're saying, what is long distance? Because if you're under 40, there hasn't been a long distance, but at one time it was a long distance call to call from my Toledo, Ohio to a neighboring city, Oregon, which was a 20-minute drive, but it was a long distance call, right? Nowadays, we can call anywhere in the world, pick up our cell phones and do it, right? It's just part of the plan. But that company, because we were saving people money and it was just asking them to try our service, and it was a friend doing it, and we grew it through a direct sales model, we became the fourth largest long distance carrier in the United States in a very short period of time. And I was able to gather hundreds and hundreds of thousands of customers by building a team. Paid me a lot of money. Now, of course, long distance disappeared, right? So I had to look for other revenue that was residual. And there was a company called Your Travel Business, something you happened to play a role in years and years ago, because a lot of people joined just for the benefits of being able to turn their vacations into paycations, right? But I went out there and said, okay, if this internet thing is going to work, this was the year 2000. I said, if this works, people will start booking. My mom did a little bit of travel agency she was like, she loved to travel. Now that my father was gone, well, how could she do that? She went to work at a travel agency and worked on the weekends so she could get the benefits. Well, now the internet was making it so that you could own your own online travel store and get all the benefits of the travel business, but also have an ability to make some money. Well, we became the 11th largest travel company in the world, that company. In the very beginning, when you talk to people, they were like, I just go down to Betty's travel company, right? But as time went on, Betty's and hundreds of thousands of brick and mortar travel agencies went away because people were just booking it online. Now we've got Expedia, Orbitz, Travelocity, and about 500 to 1,000 different travel portals that you can go to, right? So it's become a commodity, but the bottom line is I rode that trend right up through, and that company paid me tens of millions of dollars to be a part of it, right? So, I know I started this out with average, Patrick. Mm-hmm. What I can say is you could take an average person, if you find the right opportunity, the right timing of whatever that's going, that trend is moving, and you can take an average person and get way above average results. So if I was trying to get involved in the travel business today, would I have the same success? No. I've got a great work ethic. I'm not afraid of work. I'll work 10, 12, 16 hours a day if I have to, or I feel that that's what it takes to do it. But you've got to find the right mechanism. And I had the same experience in the energy business. Built a heck of a company, ended up selling it to the largest privately held energy company in the world, in my home state. It's called IGS Energy. They fantastic company, still around today, and they ended up buying us, right? So it's all about timing. And I'm building right now a company called ZenDelivery. The delivery business has changed how we get our food, how we get our groceries, how we get everything. And that company is growing like crazy, and we're having a great time. But I know that how we met was because of a company called Impact Health. And I don't know, is that what you want to chat about right now, or you want me to tell you a little bit more about what drives me and what does, and
let me
all those different things?
If I may, because you hit on a couple of really important points. Obviously, we're talking about trends, and you have a talent for picking the right path, right? Picking the right vehicle. And one of the best things people can learn from you and others like you is how to do that, because that is an acquired skill. We've all picked paths we wish we hadn't, and we've all gone down roads that didn't turn out. And so I'd love to talk about how you pick an endeavor. What do you look at? Maybe we can do that in the next section. We're coming up on a break, but because I think it's a really invaluable skill, one of the most important skills an entrepreneur can do. Now, we all need to pivot in business. When we run into, we start going down a path that's not working, we need to pivot, or the economy changes or something changes in the industry, we need to pivot. But back to your point. So that's the first thing, is trends and residual income. They talk about it as beach money or mailbox money. I mean, Jordan Adler wrote the book Beach Money.
Good friend of mine.
They say if you understood residual income, you will go through a wall to get it, right? And there's no other feeling when it comes to
It's
income.
the eighth wonder of the world. That's what I call residual.
It really is. But just before we go to break here, you've mentioned the word average a couple of times, because you don't have an Ivy League career, education. You weren't a top athlete or a top, you didn't have the best grades. You didn't have, so talk about that for just a minute before we go to break, because that is key. And most people listening to this, we're average, right? We're not rock stars, but we want to succeed. We want to thrive.
Well, I'd say that when I say that, because I wasn't picked to be on the spelling bee or the first person on every team, now, but what you can't judge anybody by the heart, right? You have to get up and get going. Massive action, no matter what you're doing in life, will get you some results. Now, you can fine tune the mistakes you make or the successes you have and become better than you were before. But what I found is you got to be passionate about whatever it is. Now, right now, we're very passionate about a company we're going to talk about the second half of Impact Health. But if that doesn't excite you, then you've got to find something that just gets you and says, I'm going to do this in a big way. I mean, I love, listening to stories about Elon Musk, right? I mean, we all talk about him being the wealthiest guy in the world, but the truth is, he had several pivotal times in his, 2008, 2009, where it was either make it or the company died. And that happened on two different companies of his. So what I've done is I try to identify where the masses, everybody used long distance. Everybody traveled, or at least wanted to travel. Everybody had to use energy to either cool themselves, heat themselves, cook something, so on, so on. So you find that, and when there's something opens up that allows the masses to participate, that's a trend. Right. Selling right now, people say that I'm a good salesperson. I don't know if I'm really that good, but I know that I wouldn't be very successful selling vinyl records versus somebody that's really a terrible salesperson that's selling digital music. You're going to be more successful there. So you got to find something. And I think what I say, God has given me the ability to be able to look back and say, and look at something and say, if the masses are going to participate in this, we can probably do pretty well. Because then you just got to outwork them. And anybody that's on here that's really, truly, genuinely want to have more certainty, they've got to not be afraid to work. There's nothing wrong. Work, doesn't show up, I mean, success, I should say, doesn't show up with somebody before they've worked, except in the dictionary. That's the only place success shows up beforehand. You've got to work. You've got to be willing to do it. You've got to put the time in, the energy 100%. In that. So
100%.
Yeah.
So we're visiting with Bill Hoffman. He's had multiple successes in his life, made millions of dollars, and done it in a number of different industries. And success leaves clues, right? We're going to go to break real quick, but we'll be back. We're going to be talking about his main focus right now, Well, you've got three main focuses, but one of those that you're very excited about, I'm excited about as well. So hang tight, guys. We'll be right back.
All clear. Great segment. Back into.
So I always tell people on the YouTube video that they get behind the scenes during the breaks because they don't hear the advertising. So, it's funny because most people who have volunteers out there and business owners and so forth, but most of those that have succeeded in the industry you've seen much of your success in, which is direct sales, they're just hard workers. They're just good networkers. They're good people persons. They care. Many of them don't have an education, a significant education. Many of them don't have any experience in the field that they went into. They just saw the opportunity. They picked a good company or a good product or service, and they were passionate about it. And then they went to work, right? I mean, it's that simple. It's not simple, but it's that cut and dried, really, in my experience. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, here's what I will tell you that I've seen. Now, we've surely seen people that have been successful that only focused on the money.
Yeah. We should talk about that in the next.
But I will say that I think that the people's drive. Why do immigrants come over to this country and have success when we've got people in this country that could have done the exact same thing that they don't? It's because they become complacent. They're not willing to put that time and energy in there because,
15 seconds.
We getting ready to go?
Yeah.
Yep, we got 10 seconds.
Let's touch on that topic. I like that topic.
Okay.
You're listening to Finding Certainty with Patrick Laing. Have a question for Patrick or his guests? Join us on the show at 866-472-5790. That's 866-472-5790. Now, back to the show with Patrick.
Welcome back. We appreciate you being with us this morning, visiting with Bill Hoffman. He's one of my good friends who's also what I consider a model for success in business. And as we said earlier in the first segment, he's done it in multiple industries. However, two pieces or two principles have applied. One, he's gotten behind trends, major movements where the masses were adopting a certain or taking part in a certain arena. And secondly, I know you've looked almost invariably, you've looked for residual income opportunities. There's nothing like having money just get deposited in your account every month, right, Bill? I mean, most of us dream of that. And you've done it many, many times. So we were talking over the break about, you said you're just an average person, but you worked hard, you're passionate, you found these trends. You started to talk a little bit about immigrants. I think it's a really important topic to mention, if you don't mind.
Well, if you look at it, immigrants come to this country and they're successful.
They are.
And we've got millions of Americans that just don't believe they can be successful or aren't willing to put the time and the effort in. And I think the reason is good times. We've had some good times over the last, let's say, 40 years. Good times create weak men. Now, I'm not talking about men as a gender. I'm talking about mankind. It gets where they just aren't willing to put that time and that energy and that effort in. And they think that's just owed to them, right? Whereas the immigrants have come over and they've maybe had to, they didn't know whether they were going to eat that day or not. Our poorest of poor usually get to eat, right? So they just have a different work ethic. It's not that they're smarter or any of that. They just are willing to put the time and the work into it.
That's
the key. Now, that's not for all Americans. We live in the greatest country, and there's a lot of success stories of people that live here. But you overwhelmingly see this, especially when I walk into restaurants for the ZenDelivery side, or I, walk into these different businesses that are around. It's immigrants. And I go, why is that? It's because they're willing to work.
Yeah, I think you hit on a really important point, because we take it for granted if we grew up, never going hungry. My guest last week is from Laos. He literally swam across the river with his mom and his sister to make it get out during the purge and get, I think it was into Thailand or Taiwan, one of the two. But he's gone on to relocate here and own several multi-million-dollar businesses, build and sell several multi-million-dollar businesses. And he talked about that. He talked about how there's so much opportunity here, and he has never taken it for granted, And so, anyway, it's a really interesting mindset. I love working with various ethnic communities because they are hardworking. They value the opportunity before them, and they're also very close knit. And so you get your foot in the door, and you get to be friends with
Right.
when I was in Dallas, I met a friend of Mike Mazur's who he's made $5 million in the last 5 years with ACN, and he met him. He's a Lebanese taxi driver, and
Right.
he shared it with him, and he served this entire community. I think he was Lebanese. I'm not positive, but so there's something to be said about that. I think it's another insight into how to find success, is not only model and follow those examples, but get to know your neighbors and
Get to know your neighbors and share it with everybody. It should be something you could be able to share with everybody. And that's why, even though I have this unbelievable, because my business, by the way, I've received residual income from some of my customers for over 20 years.
that's incredible.
Residually. That's a lifetime in work sometimes, if you really think about it. And I don't see any end in thing. And it started out in the credit card processing business, which is still going strong for me today. One of the largest companies in the United States that does that. Then I jumped involved in the restaurant delivery food business, right? Started ZenDelivery, low cost compared to the big three out there, right? We're just crushing it there. But here's what I want everybody to know. What we are excited about, what you have now joined forces with, is healthcare costs have been rising. And even our politicians are honest about it and say they've been rising for the last 40 years. They say it, right? And it just keeps going up and up to the point that people can't afford it. Even with our Affordable Care Act that was started, I think, 12 or 13 years ago. The bottom line is it is very expensive to be a part of that. Unless you're totally poor, then you get subsidies and things. But if you make any income, and I say any income, 50,000 or more, you're going to pay a lot of money. Well,
You are. It's an enormous need in America.
it is.
And
it affects the CEO as well as the janitor. Doesn't matter where you fall at in that work area, it affects you. And we found a company called Impact Health, and that's a sharing company. What it is it's not insurance, but it works just like it. You get a card, you get a payer ID, you get all those different things, just like you would with my old Blue Cross Blue Shield that I was paying $1,749 for, and now I pay $548 for better coverage. Well, as I looked at the numbers, because I just go right there, we got a thing called Google. You can find all the numbers you want. 91 million potential Americans that we can go and enroll in something that will save their costs on average of 50%. Now, mine was more than that. It was 70% savings.
Incredible. When I heard about it, and we already were in that space where we offer a low cost benefit option to our clients.
Right.
In ways we help them lower their costs. But it's a health savings program. It's a wellness program. The missing piece was, what do we do if we catch cancer? What do we do if we're in a major car accident or need surgery or something? And so we've been actively looking for a solution that wasn't just traditional insurance. You're paying an arm and a leg. Right? We were looking for actively for the last year and a half. We've been actively looking for a solution that was affordable and accessible and actually worked. And when we learned about Impact Health, it just blew my mind, honestly.
So Impact Health coming up on, they'll be 6 years old, I think, later on this year. They started out just to help some members of a company, of an organization, I should say. And then a company that's 30 years old now, a company called ACN, been in the direct sales, successful beyond success, 27 countries, 5 continents, aligned with the AT&Ts, the direct TV, the Vivint. I mean, they've just been successful like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
They saw Impact Health and they partnered up with them.
Yeah.
And
they've done over $5 billion in sales in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And when they bought a company, really, right? And Impact was built within that company. And they didn't even realize what they were getting when they got it, is the way I've heard this story.
That is true.
But then they started looking at it and realizing what it did and how it worked and the potential for it. And when I was in Dallas with you 2 weeks ago at your big national conference, that's all everybody was talking about. I mean, they're so excited about this opportunity to bless lives and save money. It's extraordinary.
And it is. And we started out with trends and following them, right? You're going to see over the next 2 years, because health shares are not new. They've been around for 40 plus years. There's a bunch of them out there, right? But the problem that I saw with them, why I never went with them, and I just paid my big dollars to the insurance companies, was I had to pay for everything up front and then wait for a reimbursement. That's not how Impact Health works. You hand it to, you can go to any doctor, any facility, you hand them your card, it's got a payer ID, they get paid quicker, they get paid more than they do from the insurance companies. And there's only one connection, the provider and Impact Health. That's it. Versus in the insurance world, there's 8 to 12 hands grabbing things.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we're able to do it. They're a nonprofit. Last year, their reserves were higher than what they need to by law. They told everybody, you don't have to make a payment in December. All their customers, you don't have to. I'm going to tell you, 38 years I've been paying for health insurance. I've not one time gotten a refund or gotten where they said, don't worry about paying a month, because it just doesn't happen. But yet I see all the CEOs making more money and so on and so on, and the rates just keep going up. This is a fantastic thing for people that, I will say this, that are healthy, meaning you can't have like a pre-existing of what you talked about, cancer or something like that, in the last 3 years. If it's 3 years and a day old, then you're not in the pre-existing world and you can get coverage for it. If you get it, one of those things that happen to you health-wise after you have it, it's not, it's covered just like it would be for anything else. And there's no lifetime cap on this. So they're a Christian-based organization, but you do not have to be a Christian in order to join. That's a unique model too, from a standpoint, right? So they've covered all the bases. Goes to the emergency room, doctors, any place you want to go to, and they even have you get your prescriptions at cost. Now I want to share this with you because I take a thyroid medicine. On my old Blue Cross, I was paying $19.50 as my copay. Now we don't have an insurance card for prescription. We just get it at cost. I pay $1.83 now at the same Walgreens. So it's fantastic. We could talk for hours on this, and I know I want to be there, but this is the trend. So I am so focused on this because every small business, every entrepreneur, everybody that's paying for their own healthcare costs needs to at least take a look at this because of the cost savings. And if you're looking for residual income, we're looking for what we would call sales reps. We call them independent business owners, people that would like to go out there and share this with people, right? And get paid a residual month, and you don't need a license because it's not insurance.
Well, speaking of trends and residual income and making an impact, this is the perfect storm, right? Because it's an enormous need and concern for people, millions of Americans looking for it. It's the number one concern for employers. There's two top concerns: their labor and their healthcare costs. And when you can come into an employer and chop their bill in half, not only as an affiliate, you get a nice upfront bonus and then the ongoing residuals, but what a blessing to that business and to those employees. And invariably they tell others about it, right? So you sell one, you get referrals from them to 10 others.
I signed up a company that's going to save $42,000 a year. Now that's a lot of money in anybody's pocketbook. That's a lot of money. And the fees because he was doing 50-50 with his employees, the fees on the employees dropped by 50%. So they had to pay, and they've got better coverage. They are just we're actually signing up doctors' offices that aren't affiliated with the big, hospital groups that are independent. They're going, hey, we're going to do this, and we're going to refer all of our customers to do this because they get paid quicker and they like the model because it does it the right way. It's there to help you. And it's almost a concierge. They'll actually, something does happen to you. We had a friend of ours who's hurt themselves, and they knew they had to go see an ortho, and they actually called the patient and said, hey, have you already got your ortho set up, or do you want us to contact a few of them in your area? Now think about that. Blue Cross didn't do that to me. They told me who I could go see and who I couldn't.
Right.
Period.
It's interesting to me, and it's something I didn't know, but with insurance, most providers aren't being paid for months, as much as 6 months before they actually get paid from the insurance companies. And so with Impact Health, not only do they get paid more, and I'd love to hear your example of your surgery and what your friend, the doctor who said, or the doctor, what he was getting paid from them and from us, but he's also paid in 18 days compared to 6 months, which is incredible. No wonder they
I broke my metatarsal, my fourth metatarsal. It's in your foot, the fourth one, and I had to have a surgery and a pin put in there. Right, it's $38,000. Right, everything. I had to pay my $7,500 deductible because I hadn't paid any on the deductible for that point. And so then I know this gentleman because I play pickleball with him, right? A sport that I love to play. And so when I got involved in Impact, when next time I saw him, I said, I need you to do me a favor, go back and look at my bill. He goes, Bill, that was 3 years ago. I go, I need you to do it because I want to know how much you got paid. And he ended up getting $3,600 of that $38,000. That's all they sent him. Now there was probably some sent to the anesthesiologist, stuff like that. But the point is, he goes, I don't even look at those things because it would drive me crazy. And he told me it was 6 months and 11 days before he ever got paid. And that's with a full-time person following up, submitting it, doing all those types of things. I mean, I don't want to see employees have to be let go, but I believe that some big companies that are in the healthcare world will be able to minimize how many employees they have that do that type of, the more Impact Health is involved, because they get paid just like that.
Yeah. Well, there's something to be said about providers getting paid more and getting paid faster, and as users or as patients getting to go to any provider we want to. It's like a PPO on steroids. I love it.
Well, I don't know how much time we got left here, but I hope that people take away a message here. One, find something you love. Don't do it just for the money, but the money will happen. I mean, it will just come flying at you. There's no lack of money. Live with an abundance attitude, right? And if you found anything I've shared with you inspiring, I want you to know that with Impact Health, I'll probably, and I'm 60 years old, over the next 5 years, I'll replicate what I did for the past 38 years because of the size of this trend. And there is a larger premium, meaning, the residual's bigger than on a long distance where you're getting 2 to 3 cents. On an energy bill, you might be getting a nickel. And on my ZenDelivery or my credit card processing, you might be getting $1 or $2, right? Here you can get as much as, I mean, some of my customers, I'm getting $40 a month. And then I'm getting an override on some of my people my teams of $5.60. I believe that what's happening right now in the United States with healthcare costs rising through the roof and with the ease of what we've got, you could go out there and spend the next 6 months and probably build yourself a residual income, just going out there and calling on small businesses that will equate to what most people spend 40 years of their life just to get in Social Security, which is about $1,600 a month. That's it. You could more than get that. My residual already, and I've only been involved with Impact Health, ACN, since December, is higher than what I will get if I ever do retire and take Social Security right now.
That's awesome. Well, we're going to take another quick break.
Okay.
We're visiting with Bill Hoffman, and I'm enjoying the conversation. I want to come back and talk a little bit about the fact that they are nonprofit and some of the benefits that come from that. But don't go away. We'll be right back. Thanks for listening.
All clear. Great segment. Back into.
Hey, Angie,
You got a great team there, don't you?
we do.
What was that, Patrick?
Do me a favor, and when the 1 minute is up, just put in the word following. That helps.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, it's incredible, and I think this could be the biggest trend you've gotten behind. As big as long distance was, as big as travel, as big as energy, even merchant processing, food delivery. This will be bigger than all of them. It could be bigger than all of them combined.
It will be for the individual. It might not be bigger. Well, it is. It's a $4.3 trillion industry just here in the United States. But it doesn't take what I did. I put 200 and some thousand people that were active in YTV. I recruited 2 million, but 200,000 that were active to make, back then, I won't say this on here, but to make $400,000 or $500,000 a month. You don't need to do that. If you had 400,000, if you had 200,000 customers, you'd be making about 10 million a month.
That's crazy.
It is. It is. And that's only New York, or that's only Florida, or that's only Ohio. We've got the whole United States, right?
Right.
Yeah.
15 seconds.
All right, we're coming back.
All right.
You're listening to Finding Certainty with Patrick Laing. Have a question for Patrick or his guests? Join us on the show at 866-472-5790. That's 866-472-5790. Now, back to the show with Patrick.
Welcome back. Thanks for listening, and we appreciate your taking the time to spend your morning or afternoon with us. We have a really great conversation going here with Bill Hoffman. What I love about your story, Bill, and your focus is not only have you picked trends really well and you've built a residual income. I mean, it's $1 million a year, almost $2.5 million a year coming in. That is extraordinary. That's life-changing income. So you obviously know what you're talking about. But one of the things you've said to me, and I've heard you say it more than once, that is, I think, fundamental, is the fact that you have not even focused on the money. Do you mind talking about that for a minute? Because I think it's really core. And if somebody can understand this principle, it can change everything for them.
I've found that if you look to serve people, I never have ever offered, sold, promoted something that wasn't a benefit to the people. That's all there is to it. If somebody would have came to me and said, you got to sell this, you can make $10 million, Bill, but it costs more to everybody, that would be something I couldn't do. Now, there are people out there that probably could. I can't. I have focused just on helping people. And the thing that you get with an Impact Health is they're a nonprofit. Their whole goal is to get you healthy, keep you healthy, all those types of things. That's what they're doing. And to give you a fair, valued service product, right? That's their goal. Not to build a bigger building, not to enrich the CEO. They're a nonprofit.
Well, that's one of the
That is
things,
powerful.
that's one of the things that really caught my attention, because they don't have that, that drive from shareholders pushing for profits and board members with multi-million-dollar bonuses. I love the fact that, the ACN is their exclusive marketer.
Right.
ACN have all been with their partners for decades. They're just a conservative company who has a proven track record. They've been around for 30 years. They're going to be around for the next 30 and probably the next 100. And yet this opportunity is unlike anything they've done. You talked before the break about, instead of making a penny or two or a dollar or two, you can make, hundreds of dollars. What, 40x, 20, 30, 40x, 50x, 100x.
It's amazing.
Individuals. What you've done in the last 30 years, people can do in the next few months. They could do it in the next 3 years. And
They really could.
Residuals that are generational, even not just life-changing, but generational.
Well, when we talk about this, and I don't say this, it doesn't get me to heaven, I always say, but you make $2.5 million. You know how much money you'd need in the bank or in your investments? Forget the banks. Let's say you had it in a conservative thing. You'd need $40 to $50 million to make that, right? Well, I tell people, especially people that are either approaching or our age, I don't know that I can get you to make $1 million, but I can get you to the point a lot quicker that you can live like you have millions of dollars by having a residual income. Because if let's say you can go out there and build an income of $10,000 a month, you've equated to, you've got a few $1 million in the bank, and they have a 98% retention with Impact Health. When I look at all these things, and Patrick, I think I said this when we were having dinner, I've got 2 active companies that I run and invest in a half a dozen other ones, right? If I wasn't involved in all those, I would be full-time. I'm talking 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, building the ACN Impact Health, because it's that big. It's that big. But I can't divert all my energy there because of all the employees, all the commitments we've made, on and on. And I'll still go out there and I'm in Austin, Texas right now. That's why I'm in a hotel room. I met with some of our restaurateurs, and we ended up signing up 2 of them for Impact Health, right? Because I think it's that important. And I belong to a bunch of newsletters, and I just got one that was promoting a health share, not ours, but a health share, saying the time has come to stop overpaying for your health care, right? And theirs is way different than ours. Upfront costs, all the stuff, wait for the reimbursement. We have got it. By the way, 7 patents on the technology for Impact Health that shows exactly, I can go into my back office, Patrick, and see that this nonprofit, how much money's in and how much goes out, and that it's being paid out to the members for whatever happened or whatever services they need. Transparency. I've been paying for 38 years and never knew what Blue Cross or United Healthcare, whoever it was that I was paying into, I never saw where that money went. I just paid it.
Well, I love that. There's so many pluses with this, right? The fact you go to any provider, the fact that it's substantially less expensive, the fact that it's nonprofit, so it's not being driven by shareholders. And I mean, you look at who owns the tallest buildings in town, right? They're all the insurance companies. There's a reason for that, because of the costs and because of how it's managed. I love the fact that you can see exactly where the money's going. I love the fact that it's a collective. It's like a community that's just said, let's work together. We can accomplish more if we have the leverage of our collective buying power. I love the fact that providers get paid faster and get paid more, so they're happy to take it. Right? If you ever go to a provider that doesn't take it, it's just a quick phone call to Impact Health, and once they see how it works, they're instantly interested. And so there's just win after win after win. It's hard to compare to what we've done in the past, the opportunity that Impact Health offers.
I want to give an example. Andrea just went to a urgent care because she had pulled a muscle, and she wanted to get it looked at because it was really something on her leg that looked, I go, well, you better get that checked out. She went there. They didn't know anything about Impact. So they charged her $338. Well, she called into Impact. Impact called down. She sends the bill into Impact. She pays her whatever you have to do to go to an emergency room type thing. I forget what the cost is. Maybe it's the $250, right? Which is what she would do if she had probably more if she was at had a Blue Cross Blue Shield. But Impact is reimbursing her the difference between what her copay is, I guess you'd call it, in so people understand what it is. And that, so even though they had never heard of Impact Health and they said, no, we don't, she put it on her card, Impact Health says, send us the bill. And they got them all. Now you can walk into that 24-hour urgent care in Naples, Florida, and it's all they got Impact all in there. But the point is the amount of not just the healthcare side, but the amount of care they take with each customer and each provider. It's just lights out. And one of the things that proves is all we have to do is educate people on this. This is a better way of doing things. We just got to educate them. So I am super excited. I've enjoyed this immensely. I mean, this has been, your demeanor and the focus you do with bringing on some unbelievable people. I'm very humbled that you asked me to be on here. All I can say is I hope that if people are looking to lower their costs, they contact you. If they're looking to get a residual income and get more certainty in their life on residual wise, hey, no license, they can get started. We have all the teaching, all the training, all the systems in place. Impact Health will actually contact the businesses that you submit because they want to quote. It's just absolutely amazing. You couldn't ask for a better tsunami of goodness that's going to happen with our customers that get on and the people that brought those customers in. Residually, it's going to be, I can't wait to talk to that taxi driver 5 years from now and say, so what'd you do in the last 5 years? He'll probably quadruple what he made the first 5 years because the impact of Impact Health.
I believe it.
Yeah.
We are up against the end of our show, everybody. Been visiting with Bill Hoffman. He's the owner of iPop Sales. If you want a better merchant processing option, reach out to him at ipopsales.com. If you own a restaurant or know a restaurant who's struggling with the high cost of meal delivery, go to ZenDelivery.com, right, Bill?
Yep.
And if you want to learn about Impact Health, go to CertaintyImpact.com, www.certaintyimpact.com. Have any questions, reach out to us. You can text the word certainty to 26786, or you'll see our contact information in the description below. Certainty is out there to be had. It is all around us. Bill talked about having an abundance mindset, being passionate about what you do and looking for wins. We can help. But go get it. Don't be afraid because there is so much opportunity. Bill's just one example of many we've had on our show that have tapped into that opportunity. You can too. So thanks for being here, Bill. We really appreciate you, man.
God bless you. God bless everybody. Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Yep. Thank you.
All clear. Great job today, everyone.
All right. Thanks, my friend.
Have a great weekend. Take care.
Looks like we lost Bill. I usually visit for a minute afterwards, but if you're watching the video, it's been a really interesting experience getting to know Impact Health and the people behind it, not just the company, the fact that it's nonprofit, the fact it's less expensive. You can go to any provider. I love the fact there's an opportunity for people to take part in it and earn residuals, really extraordinary residuals. It's one of the strongest comp plans I've ever seen. But the people behind it are truly salt of the earth. They're incredible. The 4 founders have been married for 30 years each. You know, they continue to give back, and very conservative, very heart-centric and people-focused. So I love that. So anyway, thanks for being here on Finding Certainty. Appreciate you. And we'll talk to you next week. Have a great weekend. Bye for now.